First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. That is obviously not a live shot that you're looking at right there, but that is part of our footage of the Burnside Bridge, and that is part of the topic of conversation today. It is the topic of conversation. Okay, it looks like we're having just a little bit of a tech issue. There we go. All right, I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. We appreciate it. We are live streaming on social media and on our apps and our website. So lots of places to find this show. We're just showing the Burnside Bridge there right at the beginning, and that is the topic of conversation. As you've probably heard, well, we've known for a while that there needed to be a new bridge. That it needs, it's not completely set up for an earthquake. If that were to happen, there's some videos. We'll show you those here in a minute of what could happen if that were to occur. And now construction is moving along with the possibility of the bridge may be closed for 5 years. But we're going to be talking about that. We're talking about the construction project, and we've got two great guests joining us right now, and I'm very thankful to have you two here with us today. This is joining us, we have Emily Miletich and Megan Neill, two of the fine people working on this project. And I think, to start off, really appreciate both of you being here. Could you each introduce yourselves and just maybe let people know what it is that you're doing on this project?
Yeah, my name is Emily Miletich, and I am the construction phase project manager for Multnomah County.
And my name is Megan Neill, and I'm the design phase project manager for Multnomah County.
Thank you both for being here, to join us today. Obviously, you have a lot of projects that are on your plate then for that, but with this one, certainly is something that that's going to be a pretty big project. And I think to maybe give everybody just a little bit of context, can you talk about how long this has been in the planning phase as far as a new Burnside Bridge?
So the county established the earthquake-ready Burnside Bridge as its top priority project in the 2015 Capital Improvement Plan. The purpose of the plan is to really identify what needs our Willamette River bridges have over the next 20 years and develop a funding plan to accomplish those projects. The reason why this project has been the top project in our plan is that at the end of the day, there really is no bridge that we use today that will be standing and functional after a major Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. So immediately once this was identified in the plan, we started to get work on this project. We did a 2-year feasibility study from 2017 to 2018 to really identify what are the options for a seismically resilient Burnside Bridge. And from those options, we identified a select few that would advance into an environmental review phase. We're just wrapping up the environmental review phase now. We've identified the alternative. We want to advance into the design phase and ultimately to construction. So we've been working on this project since about 2016.
Since 2016, so it's been a very long time just going through those phases. I want to talk about where we're at now and going forward and some of those specific things you addressed, but one of them was the environmental phase. And I know that that's a big concern. We're going over a major river. Can you tell us about what some of the biggest concerns are when it comes to the environmental side of things?
The purpose of the environmental review phase is to really understand how the alternatives we're considering impact the local area, specifically the people, the planet, and places. So that could either be the fish in the water, it could be the historic buildings in the adjacent neighborhood, and it could be traffic, people using the bridge. So we evaluated the alternatives over maybe 20 different topics to identify which topic had the least impact and the most benefits for the community. And that alternative is then advanced into the design phase.
And let's talk about the design phase and the design side of things. So what were some of the major factors that you took into consideration when it comes to the design?
I think we wanted to ensure that through the design phase, we will be able to construct a seismically resilient bridge that will be able to withstand the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake within our targeted budget. So that is our major focus of the design phase.
That makes sense. And let's talk about for a second here. I want to come back and talk about more about what's coming up with the project. But we do have, and I'm sure some people have seen this video before, showcasing what could happen if the Burnside Bridge, if we were to get this Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, and where it would be at right now. And that's it's a pretty terrifying video of seeing what would happen. But obviously that shows some of the concern here of where we're at. When was the bridge originally constructed?
So the bridge was originally built in 1926. This is well before the understanding of the risk of a major earthquake was discovered for this region. The original bridge actually has very little reinforcement, hardly any. It's also sitting on a foundation of very shallow timber piles that are essentially sitting in quicksand. So this bridge is going to be highly vulnerable in an earthquake, as you can see in this video.
Yeah, that is a pretty good reminder of why we need a new bridge. So let's talk about the construction phase and what's coming up. Obviously, we're not there yet. What is it? Do you have an actual estimated year or date when construction could begin?
Yeah, we do. So we anticipate that in 2027, we'll start the actual work on the bridge and the demo and construction of it. There is a possibility that we will have early construction activities that might be things like improvements around the ends of the bridges so that there's the detour routes that we'll have while the bridge is closed can actually help people get around. But that timing of those activities is yet to be determined. We've just brought on the contractor. And so we are waiting to get feedback from them on kind of what those early activities might look like.
And once you do enter that, so 2027 possibly, starting it maybe before that then, starting some of that other stuff as you mentioned. So, you mentioned the traffic and the detours. Obviously with Burnside Bridge being a major thoroughfare, a major bridge across Portland from the east to the west side to downtown, that's going to affect a huge amount of traffic. What are some of the plans to help mitigate some of those issues?
Yeah, so we, during the environmental review phase, we actually looked at options for having a detour bridge, much like we did during Selwood. But just the cost impact of being able to have a bridge, particularly one that was able to move up and down, was just cost prohibitive. And so with feedback from the public, we elected to not introduce a detour bridge for just the cost purposes. So we are going to be doing some mitigations, particularly for transit improvement to help with the traffic flow as people use other bridges in the area and just trying to help people move around in a safe and comfortable way.
Can you expand on that at all? Some of the different mass transit, considerations that you could have go into place?
Yeah, so we don't know exactly what that package will look like right now. So we're still working with our city partners to determine kind of the extent of those improvements. So that's really something that we'll be determining probably in the next year or so.
Okay. And I guess just to ask some of the questions that I have on that, and you may not have an answer, that's totally understandable. But when it comes to diverting that much traffic from Burnside, and you mentioned that all of our other bridges are maybe in need of, some of them may be in need of repairs too. Is that going to put a tremendous amount of stress on, say, the Steel Bridge and the Morrison Bridge and the Hawthorne Bridge?
Yes, we do anticipate that by starting to talk about this now, we can help people make plans for how they can get around the city, knowing that the bridge is going to be closed. When we did a major capital maintenance project in 2017, 2018 on Burnside, we reduced the bridge to just a single lane in each direction. And we actually found that most people were able to find their way around without causing a lot of extra congestion in the adjacent streets or on the adjacent bridges. So we're really ramping up to do that kind of public outreach and public involvement so folks know where they can go, what are good directions to get around the city, and how they can avoid kind of those really intense areas of congestion.
And something else that's been speculated is that this could take 5 years for this construction project. Can you talk about what some of the major reasons are that this would take that amount of time, 5 years, to be constructed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do anticipate that from 2027, the start of the demo and construction, all the way through to completion in 2031, the bridge will be closed. Really, the kind of main driver of that is that we're only allowed to work in the river during certain periods, and that's really just for a short window during each of the summers due to the salmon in the river. So it's really constrained when you can actually do that work. And because you can only do work in that short period of time, you end up just extending the length of the project. And that's really the main driver of that.
Okay, so it's the salmon run is really why that is. So that does limit it. So it's just those few months that you can work on it, and then I suppose there's not really a lot of construction that you can do outside of that.
You can do, all of the construction that's on kind of the bank side on either side of the bridge, but really the main part of the construction in the river and putting in those foundations and any kind of temporary platforms that the contractor might need to be able to do the work, that's really what kicks off the bridge and gets everything moving. And so that's the main important piece there.
And that's why it's anticipated 5 years then, yeah, for that. Okay, yeah, thank you for clarifying that too. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. These are questions that I think a lot of people have too, just to try to understand. It's like, well, 5 years, that seems like a very long time. Not that I know anything about bridge construction, but yeah, that makes sense. So those are the environmental concerns there with the salmon. Taking a look at some of the designs, I know that we have a couple here of images that came through. Can you talk to us about what the Burnside Bridge could potentially look like? And I've got, I guess I'll pull up this one right here. Let's see if you can. There we go.
Yeah, so we, during the environmental review phase, we landed on much of what the structure kind of in general is going to look like. So you can see from this image and then the next one that on the west side of the river, you have kind of what the bridge looks like today. So it's got a girder style bridge. We do anticipate that there'll be less columns on the west side there just because of advances in technology and how long of a span we can have. That center span with the movable bridge, that'll also look similar to what we have today. That's a bascule style movable bridge. You have two leaves that open and close. But then the east side is really where you start to see a lot of difference from the existing bridge today. So this image here you're looking at is a cable stay bridge. The other one is a tied arch bridge. So we have not made the decision on what that bridge type will be. And that's really because we want to get input not only from the public, but also from the contractor on what are some considerations for us to think about when we're deciding on that east approach bridge type. And I think what's special about that east approach is that it has to span over a lot of different infrastructure. So it's spanning over the freeways, the I-5 and the I-84 on-ramp. It's also spanning over the Burnside skate park. And so it makes that bridge really long. So we're looking at a total length of between 600 and about 700 feet. And you really, there's a lot of considerations that go into how you actually build those types of structures. So having that input from the contractor and then thinking about how those different types influence the schedule and constructability and price. Those are all really important. And then layering in that feedback from the public on what do they want to see on this in this new structure.
Right, then that makes sense. So that is a lot of things to cover over that one side of the bridge. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of things to take into consideration, I would imagine. So when it comes to this feedback, obviously you're going to get it from the construction crews, from the contractors, and then what happens after that? Does this go to a public, any kind of forum as far as deciding for at least the appearance of the bridge?
So we have convened a community design advisory group comprised of approximately 20 to 22 members from the community with interest in design, architecture, impacts to businesses and stakeholders around the bridge. And we'll be working with that advisory group to test out ideas on what the bridge, how the bridge may look and feel. We are utilizing a bridge architect to help Multnomah County come up with those ideas. And so we'll be running everything past the advisory group, and anything that they recommend will then go to the public for additional comment and feedback. We're looking to have the first opportunity to provide public input on the design of the bridge probably next summer. So please look for that as it rolls out next year.
Okay, yeah, so that not too long then. So summer 2024, anticipate for that. One other question I had now that I'm thinking about it, the construction going over so many different things, do you anticipate there being any significant closures of I-5 or I-84 during this construction phase? I guess really I-5.
Yeah, we will have some brief closures in order to do the construction of the existing or the new bridge and demo of the existing bridge. But we understand that those are really important pieces of infrastructure. They move a lot of people, a lot of goods. And so we are really working to restrict the total closure on both I-5 and the I-84 ramp.
And going back to one other thing, talking about the budget and where are you at on that now, and how much do you anticipate the bridge to cost for completion?
Yeah, so right now we have a total budget of $895 million. We are just getting into the start of the design phase, and really during this phase, we're going to be working closely with our contractor to understand what the costs look like today. So as we progress along in design, we will be getting updated cost estimates at every kind of major design milestone. We do expect that first estimate from the contractor is going to come in sometime in March of 2024, which will help us feed into that process of choosing that east side structure type. So, but for now, we have a current budget of 895.
All right. Well, I think I've asked everything that I could think of here for this. I mean, I really appreciate you joining us. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the public, just in general, about the project?
You know, I think that we are just really grateful that we've had so much community support to date, and we're going to continue to engage with our community. And you know, we're just really excited that we have the ability to bring this really awesome project to the region and provide a regional lifeline for when we do experience that Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. So I think we're just excited and we're ready to get going.
Well, Emily and Megan, thank you very much for joining us. I really, really appreciate your time in being here and explaining this out. And I'm sure you've got a lot of things to get to. You're very busy, but thanks for being here with us right now on Fox 12 Now.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So that was great. So for everybody watching, again, feel free to share this video, let other people know about it. So this is explaining, you know, the Burnside construction project. It's something that's going to affect us all, but obviously understanding it a little bit more is really great, and getting an education there on some of the different factors that they're taking in and what has happened before, what's going to be happening, all of that, trying to cover that. So thanks for joining us for that. If you are watching live, you'll see the social media side of things, Facebook and YouTube. You'll see those videos end. I will continue on over on the website and the apps. I've got a few more things, and then coming up at 2 p.m., we have the Fox 12 Weather Podcast video edition, so that's going to be rolling right out at 2. If we have any breaking news, I'll come back in as well, but otherwise expect 2 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. I'll see you there. Website and apps. I'll talk to you in just a minute. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.